All right, everyone. So we will get started. And for those of you who are joining just a little bit late, if you could please mute yourselves upon joining. That way we don't hear everyone's background noise. That can be a little distracting. And I'll start with introducing myself. We've got Chequoya here with Haven House, and I'll introduce myself and we'll get started. So I'm Amy Weiner. I am a software sales advisor with Better Impact. I'm heading into my 8th year. And one of the things that I absolutely love about what I do is that those relationships that I build. And I do that in talking to organizations where people are passionate and dedicated about what they're doing. And I find out more about that and then help them find the best software solution for them. So totally love that part of my role. In my free time, I love to spend time with my husband, Brad, and the rest of my family. I also have a couple of rescues, Polly and Gus, and love to garden year round, both indoors and out. So I will let Chequoya introduce herself. Chequoya.
Hi, everyone. Again, my name is Chequoya. I work for Haven House here in East Lansing, Michigan. I have been here since October of 2015. So I am now the Volunteer and Special Projects Manager. And so I oversee our volunteer program and some other areas as well. And I'm also a mom. I have 3 kids who are 6, 4, and 2, so they keep me pretty busy. But overall, I really enjoy being the volunteer manager. I really like to see the passion that our volunteers have for our mission and just aligning, the goals that we have for our volunteer program with the interests that they have.
Thanks, Chequoya. Some of the takeaways today will be a discussion of current problems that volunteer services teams tend to face. And although there are many sectors supported, the problems are very similar in nature. We'll do a quick program assessment where I'll ask you a series of questions and have you hopefully respond by answering those questions in the chat. So you'll just enter the number in the chat. Then Chequoya will share with us, discuss her journey and tips for successfully finding the right software solution to manage our volunteers. Then, time permitting, I'll demonstrate some of the features that she covers and a high-level overview of volunteer impact. We'll have a few resources and a link to obtain your PDU, your Professional Development Unit, certificate for attending today. So please stick around and let's have some fun. So again, we have a wide array of organizations, and a lot of us are finding that we have the same sets of problems. One of those things that we hear quite frequently is way too much data entry. And I don't know about anyone who loves to manually enter in data. And then I hear from organizations that say, the using of disconnected tools to do their job can be confusing and clunky. They don't have enough time to lead and engage with their volunteers because they're spending so much time manually managing things. And everyone needs and wants to find an affordable tool that leadership will approve. And rightfully so, we're all concerned about the security of confidential volunteer data. Question number 1. Which problem resonated with you the most from the last slide? Was it number 1, and if you'll enter these answers into your Zoom chat, too much data entry. Number two, too many disconnected tools to do your job. Three, not enough time to lead and engage with your volunteers. Four, an affordable tool leadership will approve. Or is it five, insufficient security of your volunteer data? So I will take a look at, and I'm going to back up just a second here because it's bouncing me around a little bit. I'm going to take a look first before we look at question 2, what some of these answers are. So I see a lot of, a lot of 4s, 3s, 1, 2s, okay. All right, so number 2, let's see how you answer this one. How are you currently managing your volunteers? Is it with 1, spreadsheet? 2, you're already using volunteer management software? Or is it 3, something else altogether? Okay. Let's take a look. Somebody's using 1, 2, and 3. Okay. Great. Thanks for answering. One more. Question number 3. In your opinion, what's most at risk if a change doesn't occur sooner rather than later? Is it 1, volunteer turnover or disengagement? 2, staff turnover, disengagement? 3, wasted money? 4, damage to your organization or program's reputation? Or is it number 5, something else altogether? So, lots of things in common. Did you know that more than half of all employees are unhappy at work because of the software tools that they're using? Have you ever become dissatisfied at work due to missing or mismatched software? This is why it's important to have the right tools for your job. And these statistics were from G2's 2019 State of Software Happiness Report. About 1 in every 8 employees has quit a job because of mismatched software. It's so important to have the right tools to do your job so that you feel empowered. So let's get you to working with tools that make you feel less frustrated and more empowered and productive when you do your job. I'd like to now turn it over to Chequoya to achieve just that and let her share her background.
Right. So I work for Haven House in East Lansing, Michigan. So Haven House has been in existence since 1983. And we had, a goal in mind to guide and support families who face homelessness. So our volunteer program honestly can see anywhere from 1,500 to 2,000. I think the number has kind of gone down just a little bit with COVID and how sometimes volunteers are changing just the way they want to.
Chequoya, if you can unmute
I
yourself
totally
at this
unmuted and then it
situation.
muted again. I'm sorry.
That is
Um,
okay.
so sorry. So let me start again. So I work for Haven House in East Lansing. So we've been in existence since 1983. Our biggest goal is to support families who face homelessness, and our biggest goal is to get them into housing. So our volunteer program can see anywhere from 1,500 to 2,000 throughout a year. That number has gone down just a little bit more to around the 1,500 range, just with COVID and the way that volunteers are wanting to serve. But we do have an array of opportunities that I oversee, from people working in the office, people prepare dinner for our clients. We have shoppers who come and pick up all the groceries that we need, kind of like a ship shopper. Inventory tracking, quite a few different opportunities. And so we've been using Better Impact since February of 2019. And honestly, it's changed my life dramatically with being able to manage our volunteers this way. I was actually using spreadsheets and things before then. We have our website through VEES, and so applications were coming in that way. I think we can go on to the next slide there. So yeah, so some of the challenges that I faced was just a volunteer was wanting to schedule, and before we had the volunteer management system, I again was using spreadsheets to track all of our volunteers. I was having to email every single volunteer, which I would have hundreds of emails every single day. People would want to schedule that way, and that was the only option that I had, was just back and forth emails on how to schedule. And so a volunteer just said, I really wish that there was a way for me to see a calendar. And I could see what dates are open. I can see when I can schedule. I could just basically receive notification, like, okay, yep, I'm on the schedule for this date. Just have that physically in front of me. So I was spending a lot of time with emails. I was spending a lot of time with on just physically the spreadsheets themselves. Again, between 1,500 to 2,000 volunteers in a year. I have all those names just on a spreadsheet, having to track that. If a spreadsheet just happens to go missing, I have lost all that data. So that was a big problem for sure. And then the volunteer application, if the website or the link was not working for that, or if I didn't physically get a notification about a new application coming in, then I would miss someone wanting to volunteer, and it could be a week or so or even longer that they didn't hear from me. So those are the big challenges and some of the big pain points that we realized, like, okay, yeah, we definitely need to move on to a system. Another thing would be if the volunteers did not physically sign in on a form when on the site, then it would honestly just mess up the hours. So if a person came in and volunteered, didn't sign their name, then I didn't have any verification to verify that they actually physically volunteered. So we did have a few who were upset if I couldn't, give them that verification. We do work, we're located right next to Michigan State University, so I have a ton of students who come through. And so they definitely need that verification for service learning and things. And so they're always looking for me to be able to verify. And if they're not signed in, then I'm not able to verify anything for them. So the breakdown here, I spent a lot of hours on scheduling, as you can see here, before we had the system, a lot of hours per week, and just the data entry. I was physically doing all of our onboarding, where people were having to come on site regularly to do all of the trainings and tours and things like that. Now with the system, those things can be added in for them with e-learning modules and things to kind of cut back them having to always schedule for that. So as you can see, I was honestly in a week doing a lot more, it seems like, of 40 hours on just trying to manage just our data and things like that. So a little bit about my journey here. Honestly, I'll just kind of, I think that's the same. Is that the same slide? Okay, there we go.
Yeah.
So sorry about that. So why I selected volunteer impact, honestly, I had gone through and was doing some research, and I knew that there were certain features I really wanted. The biggest one was the application process. I really wanted to know when people were scheduling. I really wanted to know if someone wasn't able to make it. If they emailed me and said that they weren't able to make a dinner shift, then and if I was out of the office, then I didn't receive that notification, and then staff would be looking for someone to come in and prepare dinner for our clients, which if no one shows up, then staff is going to have to make that. It kind of messes up that schedule for them. So definitely having that application process, declining shifts, scheduling, them having access to their calendar. Just honestly, everything, email templates, everything that I had to do manually by myself, Better Impact had that for me here. So, and then also when I was physically trying out Better Impact, there was a lot of support. I know that they offered me a trial period of about 30 days, and I was able to go in and start adding volunteers into the system, getting everything set up. I was able to, get the whole page designed and everything. And I had someone with me every step of the way, able to answer all of my questions. And I had everything physically set up within that 30-day time period. And we were ready to go, honestly, right after that. I think within maybe a week or so before that 30-day trial was up, we definitely were interested in moving forward with Better Impact. And then another big thing that happened right after we had decided to go ahead and move on with Better Impact was that they launched the mobile app. And that just kind of moved our volunteer program even farther, just because we have people able to use their phones and they're able to go and clock in and out using that. They're able to track their hours using that. They're able to schedule, decline shifts just right in the palm of their hand. And as we know, we're living in a technological world and people love having their phones in their hands. And so it was really awesome to have that as an option. So with the time that I've saved, honestly, I've been able to just connect more with my volunteers. I've been able to just kind of see where they think they can help us outside of some of the volunteer opportunities that we've offered. So it's just really nice to continue that relationship outside of just always making sure that they're on the schedule and just those emails back and forth. Let's see. And then we also can see the areas with the system that we're seeing a decline in our numbers. And so that has helped us to do just some SWOT analysis and just see like, okay, maybe there's another way for us to kind of promote this opportunity. We can actually, I have all of the volunteers in our email system. So instead of me having to go through a spreadsheet, finding everyone to email them individually, I have everyone right there in front of me. I just click a couple buttons and I'm able to email and send out a blast email to all of our volunteers in the system. So that has been really, really helpful. And so as you can see, honestly, before Better Impact, we were kind of way up there in terms of just like, my volunteer program would not be what it is now if it wasn't for Better Impact. It's just, I'll honestly, all I have is glowing reviews. I just feel like it's made a huge difference in our program. It's made a huge difference in how I can manage. And it's also helped me to kind of push our program further and allowing me to move into another position where I can oversee someone to do this volunteer position as well now.
Right. Thank you so much, Chequoya. I'm going to switch screens here, and then I'll cover a couple of the features that Chequoya mentioned when she was speaking. So
I did see some questions in the chat, and so I can answer those for us at the end here.
Okay, if you want to go ahead and start answering those while I switch, that's great.
All right. So let me see. I saw one that said, did you give access to the volunteer mobile tools to all volunteers? Yes, I did. So everyone has access to use their mobile device for that. We moved completely to the mobile app after COVID, just because we did have a shared tablet in our office. And we had used that, but with COVID and everything, we completely switched over to mobile. And we haven't had any issues with that, except for a few volunteers who might not be, very tech savvy. With that, we kind of allow them to have me clock them in and out, type of things like that. And then did I convert any of the existing data? So I did not do any like importing or anything like that, where I was able to pool everyone's information and kind of just add it in. I actually had to physically go in and put in quite a few manually, but I was able to ask some of our volunteers to just go in and just basically apply and kind of go through the whole process that way.
Great, and we will answer, I know there are other questions coming in, and we will get those answers after this short demo with just some high-level stuff of the different features of our software. And yes, you can use mobile and the kiosk, and I'll even show you a little bit more about that. Yes, there is a way for Volunteer Impact to onboard your information. So what I'm going to show you now, and you should all be able to see my Better Impact screen. What we're looking at now is the admin view. And you'll know that I'm here. You'll see these green bubbles. And these green bubbles are what refers to the different statuses of your volunteers. And so Chequoya had mentioned the application process. And so you can create what we call an activity list or public page. And this is a great recruiting tool of just showing the different types of opportunities that somebody might potentially be able to see and sign up for once they fill out your application and become qualified. And we'll get into what that means in a moment. So you can see here, you can have up to 3 different application forms with links to all of those on your website. So when I generate that link, a couple of things happen here. We've got that preview, and we'll select that in a moment. But we also have a short URL that we can share all over social media and email blast if you want to. This is what you'll copy and paste onto your website. And then we have a QR code, which you could add to your
You're very garbled.
Yeah, you're breaking up a little bit, Amy.
We'll here.
We're not able to hear you.
So you can actually hear what I'm saying. That's kind of let's see. We'll try the audio. We'll get that squared away, and I'll just put that on. All right.
How's this? Is this better?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. All right. So let's go back to sharing what you're supposed to see. All right. Okay, so we were talking about those links. I'm going to go ahead and click that so we can see what we were going over. There we are. So your banner, your branding, looking and feeling just like your website. And as a prospective volunteer, I could just say, I want to fill out your online application, or perhaps I want to check out social media. What are people saying on social? What do you want to share with your volunteers? This is your great chance to make a wonderful first impression. And these current volunteer opportunities are simply general interests that you create to perform as many advertisements, to advertise those roles that somebody could possibly sign up for once they become an applicant in your database. Now, it doesn't matter how badly I want to sign up for one of these now. I would have to go through the process of filling out your online application, which we'll take a look at. So that application form, and again, you can have up to 3, and you can have links to all of those on your website. You could decide initially that you want all of those volunteers to get an automatic email letting them know, because if I'm going to fill out another form, I want to know, what do I do next? And this is the place where you could share that information with them, that percent one that you see. And you'll see that through, when you're creating email templates, sending out email blasts, That's how you drop in that first name placeholder. So everybody gets the personal touch of you addressing them by their first name. So once I fill out your online application, I'm going to land as an applicant for you to manage. And I'm going to know what my next steps are because you've already shared that with me in that initial communication. So you can reach out to those applicants, you can move them to your in-process status. And based on, whatever your onboarding processes look like, some of you may have in-person orientations. Some of you might have certain things that people have to watch via PowerPoint. You can actually have volunteers go ahead and complete those steps initially. So you determine, what you want volunteers to be able to see and sign up for. If I'm a brand new volunteer, I'm switching screens on you, then perhaps you've directed me to take an e-learning module that you've created for orientation purposes, or maybe I sign up for your in-person orientation through the opportunities that I have available to me. So when we're looking at this volunteers portal, again, this is your banner, your branding, looks and feels just like your website. But this is all about Amy Weiner Volunteer and any badges that I've earned. And badges are great because if I'm going to give my time to something, then I want to be able to be recognized and appreciated for those things. So milestone anniversaries, hours achievements, any qualifications, and qualifications for the purposes of our software are your non-negotiables, your requirements. In order for me to be able to see and sign up for this particular activity, I have to have a certain status. So if I'm brand new, maybe I'm an applicant, maybe I'm in process, and perhaps I don't have any qualifications at this point. And then for other opportunities, perhaps I have to be accepted, and I might have 5 or 10 qualifications required of me to be able to see and sign up for those things. So along with those qualifications, you can attach badges to them. So when somebody achieves one, they get that instant gratification of seeing that on their homepage. A Flickr feed if you wish. People love to see themselves in pictures. Any news that you want to share. And files that you want to give your volunteers access to. And then if I'm signing up for something, well, then I can just go to my opportunities tab and look at this in a calendar or a list format. So when I sign up, when I look at these things, I'm seeing these because I'm qualified and I have the right status. So perhaps I want to select an opportunity, find out a little bit more about it. If my organization wants to share the Who feature, then I can see who else is scheduled if that's something that those volunteers wish to share. Or I could easily just sign myself up. When I sign myself up for something, it's going to land into my schedule so that I can effectively manage that. Now, I can also have weekly reminder emails that let me know a week ahead what I've got going on for the week. And I can have a calendar sync that syncs with my iCalendar, Google, or Outlook. So when I wake up and I'm looking at my phone for my calendar with my morning cup of coffee, then I also see what I'm signed up for as a volunteer as well. Now, one of the things that Chequoya mentioned was our app. And it has changed a lot of things for a lot of people. So if you give your volunteers permission to, then they can start their time clock right from the app. They can also sign up for opportunities. They can take an e-training. So it really does change a lot of things.
Can I mention one thing for the mobile app?
Okay.
Yeah, so for the mobile app, you're able to, like, you can actually, for the hours tracking and things like that for each volunteer, you can go in and make the stipulation that you want to approve every hour. So basically, the volunteers can say they volunteer for a certain amount of hours using the mobile app, but you can basically go in and approve those hours just to verify that that person actually volunteered. So I think that's really nice because just making sure, like, if this person was on the schedule for that day, because we're solely using that mobile app, if that person that did volunteer was on the schedule, I knew they were coming and everything, then it's easy to approve. But if I had someone who wasn't scheduled and they said they volunteered for 2 hours or something, I can always reach out to them and try to see, hey, didn't have you on the schedule. So you're able to approve any hours that a person volunteers. If anyone ever wonders if, like, hey, that mobile app may or may not be the best option, just to make sure that everyone is being truthful with their hours and things like that.
Absolutely. Thank you for that, Chequoya. One of the other things that, as Chequoya mentioned, she's by a university. And so it can be very time consuming if you have college students or high school students, or even, adults who are volunteering as something that their companies offer. It can be time consuming to have them call you and ask for volunteer hours. So volunteers, no matter how you're having them log their hours, and I had seen in the chat somebody had asked something about a kiosk. Yes, you can have a kiosk using our software. That would be, username and password, or if you wanted to have that as an express mode, then you could have them only enter in their username. But no matter how you have them logging their hours, they can also report for themselves. So if I'm a college student and I'm logging hours as a part of my graduation requirements, I guarantee you I know how many hours I need to achieve. So you can let them know that they can set goals for themselves, and they can look and see how close they are to achieving those goals. And then they can also run reports on themselves that they can then, export if need be and share with whoever else needs to see them. They're able to, through their contact tab, they can communicate with you. They can also, what you're seeing here, this committee, you have the ability to create committees in our software. You add your volunteers, you assign them to the appropriate committees, and based on how you create them, if you're allowing them access, let's say, for example, I have to cancel, I had something come up, but I have been instructed to first reach out to my committee to find my own substitute if I can. So I would go in, select this, email my committee, and that admin gets a notice that I've canceled, but they get a notice following saying that somebody else has picked up my shift. So admins don't have to find those substitutes necessarily because their volunteers are doing that for them. We also mentioned briefly e-training. So e-training is fantastic. It's a great way for you to train your volunteers on a variety of things. It could be for onboarding purposes. It could be for ongoing trainings. So you drop in that content, instructions if necessary. A series of questions determine what percentage of correct answers means that your volunteer has passed your module. And then upon passing a qualification, again, a requirement that you've created will automatically change to reflect that. We'll switch back over to admin view. And before we do Q&A, I just want to point out a couple of the additional features of the software. And then I want to make sure that we leave plenty of time at the end to get those questions answered for you. So you talk to, and I think Chequoya mentioned this, our support. Everyone loves our support because it's responsive and it's included, whether you're trialing our software for the very first time or you've been a user for years and years. So if I have a question, the quickest way for me to get support is to type it into the chat. It's 20 and holidays because we're located on 3 continents. And if you happen to need someone to pull up your account, screen share, just like we're doing now, and help you troubleshoot, because maybe something doesn't look quite right and you want to know what you did, they're happy to help with that too. So we'll give them opportunity to answer that and see how long they take. The other thing I want to point out are the pin searches. And so it doesn't matter how many users you have, how many admins, we do not charge additionally for admins, but each user can have their own set of pin searches. So pin searches, anything that perhaps I need to get a hold of quickly. If I have an email group that I want to create, if I want to keep track of who's on the schedule tomorrow, I can create a pin search for that. And you can see that I have that little chat enabled. So I would create that dynamic date range. And so it's always relevant. Maybe we have inclement weather. I'm here in Columbus, Ohio, and that happens from time to time. I could easily get that information out to all of the volunteers on the schedule and let them know. But whenever you send one of these communications through the software will keep a history of that, so that if I ever had to pull a report that said, who did I send this to in Q2 of 2023, I could easily find that information. Speaking of reports, reporting is robust, it's easy, and if you enter it into the database, you can search it and you can report upon it. So when I'm looking at my reports, and just to show you a couple before we head into Q&A, we'll take a look first at hours by volunteer. So if I just wanted to pull a simple report of all of the volunteer hours, I would enter in whatever date range, or maybe I want to look at last month, last year, view the report, and it'll let me know exactly how many hours each volunteer achieved and how many entries it took them to get there. You can see Janae's just responded to us in the chat. I didn't have to submit a ticket and wait 48 hours because I don't know about you, but if I need support, if I have to wait 48 hours, it's likely going to be a bigger deal by the time somebody gets back with me. I wanted to pull an hours trend report, easily done. We get all sorts of nice bar graphs to illustrate the numbers above. And then lastly, personal profile. This allows you to go in, pick and choose the things that you're looking for in this report. So it's a little bit more customized. So I want my accepted volunteers. And again, it's all searchable. So maybe I want to do this based on qualifications or requirements. And I want people who have background checks that they've passed that aren't currently expired. And I could keep adding additional criteria, but we'll go ahead and go. So I have 26 people here, and I can determine what I want to include in my report. So maybe first name, last name, city, address, zip code, and state. and then any custom field, qualification, general interest, so on. Well, let's just go ahead and include hours logged. Okay, so we have this spreadsheet of everything that we asked for, nothing additional. I could choose to then save it. Perhaps I need to export it. And then if I really wanted to get crazy, I could have the software help me create pie charts and bar graphs to make Excel a lot more fun. So with that, I'm going to switch screens and we can start looking at your questions. I want to make sure everyone has time to get those answered. All right, so as part of Q&A, I want to invite everyone to take a look at our website. Make sure that you take a look and see what we have next in terms of events, webinars, and sign up. So let's get to Q&A. Let's take a look at these questions that you have in the chat. And I know that, since Chequoya is here, let's take advantage of her experience and feel free to ask her questions as well. All right. So it says, when you say up to 3 volunteers, not 3 volunteers, 3 applications. So for a standard account, you can have up to 3 volunteer applications. Maybe I have one for adults. Perhaps I have one for youth. Maybe I have one for special events. And so they can all be different. And when they land on my dashboard, I'm going to be able to see what application form they filled out. Limits to qualifications or trainings. And you can have different types of volunteer applications. Okay, so up to 3 different types of volunteer applications. There are no limits to the number of qualifications that you have. Those qualifications can also have expirations. So as we all know, background checks expire. Trainings can expire. So as many as you need. There are no, as far as trainings, are you referring to e-learning modules? Is that what your question was, Ashley?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
You can create as many e-learning modules as you would like. Okay. Does the admin have complete control over designing the e-learning? Yes. Can the software send group text to mobile phones? Yes. Just remember that our texting capabilities are one-way, outbound only. Let's see. Can the software send group text for announcements? Okay, we've done that one. Excel spreadsheet, CSV be imported that contains the applicant's info. Absolutely, we all want to save people time on manual data entry. And so after our time today, you'll have my link. You can email me, you can schedule with me, and we'll discuss all that you would ever want to know about importing data. Better Impact does interface with Sterling volunteers. It's not, you don't pay for the integration part of it. It's your subscription with them, your subscription with us, and then our wonderful behind the scenes folks make the two talk to one another. Chat support hours. So 24 hours a day, 5 days a week, periodically on weekends and holidays. So when you enter it into the chat, it'll tell you based upon the time of the day of the week, how long you can anticipate response time to be. So it's a little bit longer on weekends and holidays. Can you add my org logo to a report? So you can do that. And in a full demo, I can show you how you would go about accomplishing that. Yes, you can archive volunteers. And as far as archiving old volunteer service projects, you can make those inactive. We do not charge you for archive volunteers, and there are no caps on that. What I mean is there's no caps on any of the statuses. The applicant, in process, accepted, inactive, and archived. You have as many volunteers in any of those statuses. And if you archive them, you're not paying for them. So we only charge for the combination of accepted plus inactive statuses. Let's see. Other questions? Can we wipe out all data and start from scratch? This would be if we first populate it as a test setup and don't maintain data, but then want to put it into production. So Lonnie, are you referring to having a trial account and then deciding that you want to purchase and you just don't want to use the fake data? Is that? Can you clarify for me? So if it is,
Sorry, I was on mute.
oh, that's okay.
Yeah, it could be in both phases. In the trial, if we want to just import as much as we can, and then for the trial, and then when we go and purchase it, can we then just wipe it out and then re-import it, just get all fresh data, because we were just had a, yeah, or even after production, if we started up and for some reason haven't maintained things in a long time or something, and we just want to get everything fresh in there. I'm just wondering if there's a reset button.
Not so much a reset button, because we don't want to make it easy for people to lose data, because then we get a lot of panicked questions in our support. So to answer that initially, so if you have a trial account, and we hear this from time to time, where somebody's done a trial, they have fake information and they want to start from scratch, then either A, they can, get rid of the fake data and of course start from scratch, or they can have a brand new account. And occasionally that happens. More often than not, it's, oh my gosh, I don't want to lose all of this information that I just had in my trial account because I put effort into it. So it can work either way. And yes, we do offer trial accounts 30 days. And it's not a limited edition of our software. So you can go in, drop in your banner, your branding, create your application forms, your activities. And a lot of people get almost everything set up. And I think, Chequoya, you mentioned that you did that, so that when they're ready to purchase, they're ready to go. And you can add as many admins to those trial accounts as you'd like.
Yes. Yeah, we decided to go ahead and kind of start adding people like right away into the system, just to see if this is going to be the one we want to go with, then we want to make sure we have like the volunteers are ready to go. But if you wanted to put, just do a trial and just not have actual volunteers in there, I think that would be
okay.
Also, a person on my team did a trial, I think, from my organization like a year ago, and it was, I don't know if it was dropped or what. Can another trial be started? Because I'm new starting here, and this is my assignment. I guess we would contact you, right?
Absolutely. You can contact me, and then I can take a look at both of those and then just advise you on how you like
awesome. Yeah.
Happy to help with that.
Would you like me to help answer some of these with my
Sure.
personal experience?
Go for it.
So is it Kylie? So the way I have mine set up in terms of like the application form, so once someone submits an application, there's like an automatic email they receive that basically says like it'll take 7 days to review or something like that. And in there, you could provide like a link or anything. You do all of that on your own, like setting that up, so you can put anything into that message. But I know like basically for them to go through their onboarding process for us, they'll receive that initial email, which gives me like that 7-day time to just review it. And then they'll receive another email from me, which you can create those email templates that basically sends them through the next steps of onboarding. So in our process, the next step is going to be for them to complete an online orientation, which is including a background check. And then they also have to complete the e-learning module as part of that online orientation. And then they also need to come in for a tour, in-person tour. And then once that's all completed, then basically they would be an accepted volunteer. So you're able to do all that.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Yeah. I think it's another question I could answer as well too.
Yeah, let's see. All right, do you want to take the next one, or do you want me to take it, Chequoya?
Either of us. I mean, if someone puts in an application, I've had it happen quite a few times. I'll have a few of them in there, and you can go and delete that one out, the one that you don't want to have.
Absolutely. Trial account set up. So you can, Rachel, get a trial account by going to our website. You can do it that route. Or if you want to email me, I'll send you the link for starting that free trial. And you can also, schedule with me and, just taking a look at the trial and what is the best setup for you, getting those initial questions out of the way. I'm always happy to do that. Take some of the guesswork out of it, if you will. What other questions do we have? We still have just a few minutes here. Want to make sure that people get this.
Do you integrate with any donor software?
So no, we don't integrate with third-party software. We do offer donor software, number one, that works seamlessly with Volunteer Impact. But if you do have a different donor platform, you can easily export out of Better Impact and into that software.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Other questions? I'm going to switch back to the previous screen. So those of you who are getting your PDU certificates can just go to betterimpact.com/BI certificate and request your PDU certificates. Okay. Any other questions for me today or for Chequoya? Where do you get details of how to export, import contacts? So I can send you, if you want to email me, I can send you instructions. Just keep in mind that this is the import in bulk is something we have to do on our end. It's not something where you can go in and do the bulk import yourself. Now the export is just a simple export report, and I can help you with the steps to completing that.
Okay, so you can export from a phone to a report, and then you would help with the import.
So the import is all done via CSV file. And, if you want to connect after, schedule something with me, then I'll explain to you what that process looks like. And then also I can show you how you would go about doing that export report.
Okay, awesome.
Great.
Thank you, Amy.
My pleasure.
Right. I saw a question about self-reporting. So I haven't had any issues with, oops, sorry. Okay, so I haven't had any issues with self-reporting. Honestly, Haven House is very, very strict on everyone knowing who's coming on site, since we are a family shelter and we have children here as well. And so anytime someone is on the schedule, then staff is aware that they're coming on site. And so I usually don't have any issues with like the self-reporting. Now, if someone, which has happened, went in and accidentally basically said they volunteered for 2 hours on this date, and it has happened where someone forgot to clock in and out. They were on the schedule, which we say they should be clocking in and out. But if I knew that they were on the schedule and that staff person verified that that person was here because I let them know that person was coming on site, then those hours could easily be approved for them. So honestly, in terms of like the self-reporting, since we're so strict with who's coming on site, I usually don't have any issues with that. But if you don't have like that strict of, and people are able to come in and out a little bit more than we are, then you might run into that. Just kind of depends.
Yeah. And I'd like to add to that, you can also create feedback fields to, so a volunteer, when they go to log out from a shift, would then answer any feedback questions that you have for them. And a lot of times that will really keep those hours loggings honest and accurate. So that's one way that it's managed. And then if you're worried about somebody logging hours perhaps from their smartphone and you want them to be on site, you can always have it to where it requires them to be within your IP address, or they get an error message asking them to be on site to begin logging hours. So that's another way that is managed. Is it true? Go ahead.
You just said like you can have it require them to be in your IP site. So we specifically have 12 sites. Can you have that many IP addresses that they need to be able to sign in on?
So would you be looking at an enterprise scenario where it was 12 different like sub accounts? If that's the case.
No, it would all be one account.
Okay.
We're one organization. We just have 12 sites.
You just have 12 sites. Okay. And I'll send you additional information on how you might accomplish that. If you want to send me an email and so I can get that email address from you, then I'm happy to clarify that.
Next question. Do you find volunteers are honest with their reporting? Yes, I honestly have not had a problem with anyone. I can say on my hand maybe 2 or 3 times, and more so it's a person putting the wrong date in when they forgot to clock in. Other than that, everyone's been honest with their reporting. I haven't had that issue. And again, most of we have a lot of college students, and they're needed that verification to graduate. So most of them are being honest to make sure that they are, following what they need to graduate.
Yeah. Now, import until after purchase. So we can't do an import for you until after you purchase. It's a billable service. It is something that is included if you're purchasing our plus option. And then if you're not purchasing our plus option, which I'm happy to go over with any of you individually after our call in a one-on-one, but imports can also be purchased a la carte. But because that's a billable service and it takes our member success advisors time to assess the data and import it, it cannot be imported until after purchase. So we're right here at 2 o'clock. And it's time for us to conclude, but I want to thank everyone for joining us today. I appreciate it. I know that everyone's schedules are crammed full. Chequoya, thank you so much for your contribution, your willingness to serve as my co-host today. Your experience and your journey has been very valuable, I'm sure, to everyone on the call.
Thank you for having me. And I hope all of
My
you
pleasure.
are able to find the proper VM for you. And hopefully that might be better impact because they've been very helpful to us.
Thank you so much. I hope everyone has a great rest of your week and a wonderful long holiday weekend.